Most people are aware of the three body types: endomorph, ectomorph, and mesomorph. What most people are not aware of is that those three body types have no scientific basis whatsoever. They are 100% unscientific. So how does science define body type? Technically, science only recognizes one body type, and that is the standard scientific human body anatomy book, Body Type 1. You can find this image in any scientifically approved book or literature, and it is the standard that Western medical doctors and scientists use to judge every human body by. Unless your doctor has diagnosed you with a specific abnormality, underdevelopment, or malformation of some sort, you have a body type 1. You are normal. So, how do mainstream scientists and medical doctors determine whether or not you are normal? A body type 1. You will go see a licensed medical doctor. They will look you over, and unless they diagnose you with some sort of malformation, abnormality, underdevelopment, or the like, something like scoliosis, then you are a body type 1. And the only reason that your body may not currently look like a body type 1 is because you are eating too many calories per day. By eating too many calories per day over a period of time, you are adding excess fat weight to your body, and that is the only reason why you do not look like the body type 1. Unless, of course, they have diagnosed you with some sort of abnormality or the like. So how is all that judged? Body Mass Index Weight Scale, the BMI weight scale, which first came into existence in the 1800s, but wasn't officially recognized as the standard until 1985. If you are within your safe BMI weight range, you look just like the body type 1, and you're good to go. If you are outside of your safe BMI weight range, in the overweight or obese columns of your BMI weight range, you have too much fat on your body, you have excess calorie storage, essentially. And you need to burn off those extra calories, that excess fat, and then stop eating more calories in a day than your basal metabolic rate, your BMR, which is the number of calories that your body requires just to function daily, your BMR. So, if you get your calories to equal or be less than your BMR daily, once you're within your safe BMI weight range, you will look just like a body type 1. And the only reason that you don't look like a body type 1 is because you are eating more calories daily than your BMR. And you either need to reduce your daily calorie intake or increase exercise to burn more calories, or both, to burn off any excess fat. And again, once you're well within your safe BMI weight range, you will look just like a body type 1. And that's how nice and neat and clean and simple things are meant to be. But the fact of the matter is that's just not how it is for millions upon millions of people in the world, myself included. I have dealt with normal weight obesity my entire life. Normal weight obesity is having fat on your body. Skinny fat, really, because once you're within your safe BMI weight range and you're no longer fat, then the fat on your body, right, is really skinny fat. Skinny fat being thin fat, cellulite, crepey skin, loose skin, saggy skin, normal weight obesity. What is obesity really? Well, according to science, obesity is having too much fat on your body. It is not defined as being overweight, which is a common misperception. Obesity is defined as having too much fat on your body. So if we just rely on the BMI weight scale, so long as you're within your safe BMI weight range relative to your height, then you are body type 1 and you're good to go. However, if you are in the overweight column or in the obese column, it means that you have too much fat on your body. However, there are exceptions to that, being a body type 1 or perhaps a body type 2 who adds muscle to their body, which takes them into the overweight or obese range, but they are not obese or overweight. They are simply a body type 1, maybe a body type 2 with extra muscle. So long as no fat is added to the body, it's all muscle, then you are not overweight or obese. So that's one way that the BMI weight range isn't accurate. But the other way, at least one other way, that the BMI weight range is not accurate is people like me who have dealt with normal weight obesity my entire life. Where there should be muscle and muscle mass, there is skinny fat. Usually thin fat, cellulite, some saggy and loose skin, but obvious normal weight obesity all over my body. And I first noticed it when I was about 8 years old. I was a really good soccer player and a really good tennis player. But I was 8, and like all the other kids out in the field, we were small and our bodies were small and they were a lot more manageable. But nonetheless, when I was 8 and we were partaking in shirts off soccer practice or tennis or just being down at the pool, I noticed that quite a few of my peers were indeed a body type 1. But I was not. I was missing muscle and muscle mass all over my body. And it was obvious, and people took advantage of that by bullying me because I was thin, skinny, scrawny, very sensitive, weak, and an easy target for bullies, no less. And bullies being in my immediate family, my family, friends, acquaintances, strangers, the whole gamut. I was an easy target for bullies because I did not have the muscle and muscle mass that doctors were telling me and my parents that I had because I was well within my BMI weight range. Therefore, I was a body type 1, and that was that. And there's no discussion about it. And there wasn't. That was that. The doctor said I was normal. I was well within my safe BMI weight range. Everything else was normal. I was normal. My parents believed 100% of everything that the doctor said. Therefore, I was normal, and there was no discussion about the obvious skinny fat everywhere on my body that I pointed out many times. It was gaslighted every single time. Oh, don't worry about it. The muscle will grow. Oh, you must be cheating on your diet, exercise, or lifestyle somehow. Just lose a little bit more weight, and somehow magically all the muscle on a body type 1 will appear on your body. It's already there. It's just you can't see it right now because it's covered with fat. But even though you're at the very bottom end of your safe BMI weight range, somehow magically, if you lose a little bit more weight, just work a little bit harder, stop being so lazy, you'll be the body type 1 that you already are. You just can't see that muscle because it's covered in fat. But again, I'm already at the very bottom end of my BMI weight range, safe BMI weight range. And yet I'm being told somehow just lose a little bit more weight and all that muscle is there. And that's the gaslighting that has gone on for 47 years of my life. Mainstream science says that there is only one body type. It is the body type 1. And the only reason that you don't look like a body type 1 is because you're eating too much. Too many calories daily. Lower those calories, increase the exercise, burn the extra fat, and then keep your calorie intake daily at or below your BMR, your body type 1, and that's it. And there's no debate or question about it. But the fact of the matter is that's just not true. There are millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of people in the world, probably more like billions, like me, who do not and have not really ever looked like a body type 1, with all the muscle and muscle mass, no less. And so, how does that affect one's life? Well, muscle is the armor of the human body. And it has many advantages other than just being the armor of the human body. It generates heat. It allows the movement of the limbs and pretty much any part of the body in general. All of this that's happening right now is because the muscles are allowing it to happen. The more muscle that you have properly built in harmony with a body type 1, the more fully developed that it is, the more that you're capable of doing. And we can look at this from several analogies. The first we'll start with is a pro athlete or Olympian. Let's take, for instance, Usain Bolt, a lightning fast human being who is all muscle. And the reason that Usain Bolt is so fast, one of the main reasons, is because he has so much muscle. He's a body type 1, and he has so much muscle that helps generate speed. Because that's how speed is generated, from muscle. And there's strength and agility and a bunch of other variables that we can also tie into muscle. But in general, just relative to our analogy, the reason you will never see a body type 2 or a body type 3 or a body type 4 win the Olympics in terms of any event, for the most part. There might be some events where a body type 2 might hang in there and might actually even win. But in terms of track and just sheer speed, you will never see a body type 2 win that race. And the reason is the same reason why a Lamborghini, in this instance, the Lamborghini is the body type 1, and a Dodge Caravan, in this instance, the Dodge Caravan is a body type 4, lacking most, if not all, of the muscle on the body. Why, when you put a Lamborghini up against a Dodge Caravan in a straight-on race, factory issued Lamborghini, factory issued Dodge Caravan, in an ideal race where both finish and everything goes as planned, the Lamborghini wins that race 100% of the time, always. And there's no question about it, because the Lamborghini is a muscle car. It's like a body type 1. It has all of the muscle. The body type 4 is not a muscle car. It's built for its purposes, and I'm not knocking a Dodge Caravan. It's just not built for speed. It's not a muscle car. It doesn't have all the muscle that a body type 1 has. It's why it's more like a body type 4, which is lacking most of the muscle, and in place of that muscle is skinny fat everywhere. And so here is an example of the skinny fat on my body at age 47. That's how old I am now. You can see clearly the skinny fat runs, especially from the upper thigh down, but it used to run all the way down to the knee and cover most of the upper leg. It's taken me 25 years to figure out why and how to actually fix it permanently. I have tried many different types of resistance exercise, from weightlifting to isometrics and calisthenics and yoga and even Pilates. And the fact of the matter is I can build a little bit of muscle, but because I have so much fat on my body to start with, the muscle really only builds where there's already muscle. It's hard to put on muscle where there's skinny fat. It's not impossible, but it's hard. It's very hard. It's a lot harder than just going down to the gym and lifting weights. And even if you do add muscle to your body, anyone who's ever lifted weights or done any type of a repetition weightlifting exercise knows that as soon as you stop, that muscle gradually goes away. But that's not true with a body type 1. A body type 1 with all muscles and muscle mass and posture, the vertebrae, all of this works in harmony and symbiotically with gravity. And so if you have all of this fully developed, then gravity is really your best weight. It's pushing down on you, and because your body is working against gravity always, it's helping to keep up these muscles and your posture and everything else, so long as you're doing the work to work on that, which is why exercises like yoga can be very helpful. Get to know your spine and your posture, and know when you're slouching, and know when you have to make adjustments so that things are working in symbiotic harmony with gravity, no less, but just with how you move through the day and through your life in general. All of that, in terms of how graceful and in balance all that happens, is relative to the muscles, the muscle mass, front and back, the vertebrae, the spine, the spinal extension, which is just posture, and all that working in harmony. So stop and think about what I've just said, because all that is a scientific fact. And we know from diseases like scoliosis that if there is an underdevelopment of the spine in some way, then it throws off that balance, and it can cause pain and other issues relative to the spine. And that is also a scientific fact. The same thing is true for any vertebrae and really any part of the human body, be it bone or muscle, whatever it is, it can be underdeveloped because that is a genetic fact. So what happens if you're born into a body that is not a body type 1? That's lacking muscles and muscle mass and even spinal extension, posture, good posture, proper posture. What happens if you're missing that muscle and muscle mass to maintain the posture? Someone says, hey, stop slouching, and you say, okay, but if the muscle is not there to hold the right posture, you're just going to go right back into the poor posture because you have to build that muscle. And that, again, is a scientific fact, because any part of the human body can be underdeveloped or undeveloped, including vertebrae, muscle, and muscle mass. And yet, as I stand here now, the only standard that science recognizes is the body type 1 relative to BMI, relative to the calorie. And that's it. And when you go to the doctor and you say, hey doc, I did what you told me and I lost the weight and I'm well within my safe BMI weight range, and I'm here to tell you about my success, but I'm also here to ask you about all the skinny fat on my body, because you showed me an image of the standard scientific human body anatomy book body type 1 when you were giving me that pep talk about losing weight and being more healthy. And I believed you. And I lost that weight. And I'm well within my safe BMI weight range like you told me. And yet my body looks nothing like the standard scientific human body anatomy book body type 1. I'm missing muscle and muscle mass all over my body. And in place of that muscle mass is skinny fat of some form. And see what the doctor says. Because more than likely they're going to tell you, oh, you just got to lose a little bit more weight. Get to the bottom end of that safe BMI weight range and you'll be good to go. And you can say, doc, I can go do that, but I'm already really close to the lower end of my weight range. And my body right now looks nothing like it. And you can see the skinny fat here, and see the skinny fat here, and see it here, and here. And here's that image again of my inside thigh at 47, where 25 years later it looks a lot better, but you still see the obvious skinny fat. Where there should be muscle, where is the muscle? And why is that such a taboo question? It's a fair question. I have lived by your rules, just as millions upon millions of people. Those rules telling me that I'm already a body type 1. If I just get down within my safe BMI weight range, there you go, I'm a body type 1. All right. But I'm not. And I have the body to prove it, and the images to prove it. And every time I ask you about it, doc, you gaslight me and find some excuse that doesn't make any sense at all. And then once I finally have exhausted all of your excuses and haven't bought them, you just stop talking to me and leave the room. And you just leave me standing here with no recourse. And you told my parents that I'm a bi type 1 and totally normal and I have all this muscle. And the only reason that I can't compete with the bi type 1s out on the field who are like me is because I'm too lazy. I'm not working hard enough. Yet it is obvious that I am missing all of this muscle mass. Ask anyone who knew me when I was a kid, and I was a weak, thin, scrawny runt of a kid. I was a bully magnet. And the reason I was a bully magnet was because I didn't have any muscle. Yet I've been held to having all of this muscle my entire life. And when I can't compete with people who actually do have a bi type 1, who actually do have all this muscle, who actually are super athletic because they have the muscle, no less. A lot of them also had talent and skill and ability, yada yada. But they had no less than the bi type 1 muscle because they were a true body type 1. I was not a true body type 1. I was a body type 4, but because that classification didn't exist then, and no other classification did exist, because science and medical doctors do not recognize the 3 body types as being valid. They are unscientific. The only body type that science and medical doctors recognize is the standard scientific human body anatomy book, body type 1. So I'm being held to this standard. I am the Dodge Caravan, and I am being held to this standard, and I have to go and compete with Lamborghinis, and I lose every single time. And the only reason that I'm losing every single time is because I'm not working hard enough, because I'm lazy. And that's it. And so by my mid-teens, my parents were 100% thoroughly disappointed in me because I couldn't keep up with soccer and any other sport, because as I grew, more fat grew. And of course, obesity is common in my family. My father is an obese man. But all that didn't matter. Somehow magically, because I was really good at sports when I was 8, I was going to be good at sports always, so long as I just worked hard enough. And no one wanted to hear the fact that I was missing muscle mass everywhere. It was obvious. I had the evidence. I have the evidence now. But nobody would listen because the doctor said it's totally normal. It's well within a safe BMI rate range. Right? And that's what I get, right, for being an active kid. I kept the weight off always because I was so active and because I was aware. By age 10, I was super aware of the fat on my body. And I did not want to be obese. For many reasons, health being one of them, but just in general, I did not want to be obese. So I worked very hard at not being obese and watched my diet and exercise and lifestyle, even at age 10. With what little I knew about it then, I knew enough to know that eating too much made you fat. And so I watched my diet especially. And yet, everyone in my family thinks I just was naturally always thin. In that I am 100% just a body type 1. And there's no way I can comprehend their obesity problems because I was always thin. So I'm given zero credit for doing the work to keep the weight off and being healthy, as if it's just natural to me. I'm being gaslighted about the fact that I have a body type 1 when I do not have a body type 1. I do not have all this muscle. And anyone in the family, any friends, anyone who ever knew me would agree with that statement. I was lacking muscle. I was a weak, scrawny, thin runt of a kid. Nobody debates that. Yet, I'm still being held to this standard. And as I stand here now, my parents and most of the family are hugely, thoroughly disappointed in me. And I am just a lazy, not working hard enough loser. And that's who I am to them. And that's been 47 years of my life. I know that there are millions upon millions of people out there who identify with what I am saying here. Because you have done the work. You have lost the weight. You've got well within your safe BMI weight range. And yet You don't look like the standard scientific human body anatomy book by type 1 either. You're missing muscle mass, at least in some areas, if not across your body. And yet likely when you go and speak to your doctor, get your next physical, they're going to give you the same run of excuses as to why your body doesn't look like a body type 1. And you're going to give them all the same feedback and responses that I gave them. And it's going to end in a stalemate because that's the scientific standard. And we need a scientific standard. I'm not knocking the fact that we have a scientific standard. I'm knocking the fact that we have a very inaccurate scientific standard that nobody wants to hear anything about otherwise. This is it. You're a body type 1. If you're normal, you're a body type 1. And if you don't look like a body type 1, you are eating too many calories relative to your BMI. And that's it. Just lose the weight, stop abusing your diet, exercise, and lifestyle, and you're good to go. And that's a whole other conversation, diet, exercise, and lifestyle. But that's what we're dealing with here. Where's the muscle? If I'm a body type 1, if you're a body type 1, and yet all I deal with is skinny fat, and you know the feeling all too well because you have skinny fat as well, where is the muscle? Please join the conversation. I'll be putting a link in the video description. Go to the website, sign up for a free subscriber account. All you need is an email, and join the conversation. Comment, post images. You can even post videos, but you'll have to go through admin for that. But please join the conversation. Let us know your story. Are you dealing with skinny fat where there should be muscle? And are you wondering, like I am and millions of other people, where is the muscle? Bye for now.